Hey, welcome to a very special edition of the Lockdown Sessions, presented to you by Wrestling Travel and also our friends over at True Heel Heat podcast. Check them out. They do a great job. We do a great job, and together, we do a great job. That was
a lot
awesome.
of great jobs are done.
Great jobs are done. Speaking of great jobs and great people, Brian Pillman Jr., welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me on. It's excited to be on here. Wrestling Travel. You guys are pretty big, important part of the business. So I used to run into you guys all the time at different cons and different events. And, we've done some fun projects together. And here we are. We're continuing to put some things together. How you doing today?
Pretty good, man. This is one of my first morning sessions, even though I know it's done near.
This is early for me. Yeah.
That's what when you said we'll do it in the morning, I'm like, oh man, there goes my weekend. But no, that's all right. That's awesome. We're happy to have you on. One of the things we've run into you several times, and we're going to touch on Warrior Wrestling, but one of the most exciting things that we've done with Brian Pillman Jr. is it was right around a year ago that you captained our party bus from the hotel at AEW all the way to Warrior Wrestling 6.
Yeah.
With Oscar rapping the entire way out here.
That was wild. You gotta love the Chicago wrestling scene. You know, they're
I think I got yelled at for letting Oscar jump on the bus, but you know what? What the heck? That made us.
We didn't even have the vodka we were supposed to have.
Oh no, really?
I said I'm not doing the gig unless we could just have a bunch of vodka on the bus.
Oscar's you know what? Here's the controversy surrounding this, and I sorry for everybody watching this. We'll get into some wrestling talk, but we had the cardboard wrestling travel belt, or I don't know what it was made of. It was a sign. Yeah. And apparently that was awarded to Oscar from you.
Okay, yeah.
I called.
It was like a freestyle battle, I think. Yeah. Whoever won the freestyle battle. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on that bus.
It was crazy from the video. I followed you in my car, but I kept getting videos back. And then I did talk to Oscar. Oscar mistakenly thought that at Tampa Bay WrestleMania that I would pick him up when I drove down from Wisconsin. I would pick him up in Indiana and bring him down to WrestleMania. And I'm like, I'm sorry, brother. I'm flying. I didn't know where this got. But he did tell me that belt hangs on his wall, so you did a really good job there, a good deed. So, for our fans, let's kind of start at the beginning. What year did you break in, Brian?
Well, I guess breaking in is a little bit of an older term, you know. It just kind of let you in now, but I'm only teasing. I made the decision to start wrestling and to start training with Lance Storm in September of 2017. But months before that, I quote-unquote broke in and was smartened up to the business by Rip Rogers down at OVW. He smartened me up, taught me how to take a few bumps, you know, gave me a bunch of knowledge that I didn't know how to make of at the time. And then he said, you know what, why don't you go get a full training session at Lance Storm's Academy. And that's when I said, all right, I'm going to drive 30 hours across the country to train at one of the top premier facilities in the country. And it really paid off for me. You know, that was probably that combined with the mullet were the two biggest decisions in my career. So
they both paid off pretty well so far.
Can't complain.
Yeah. What time of year was that up in by Lance Storm? Wintertime, summertime?
So in Calgary, it was quite nice in September when I went, I think, because they had like when I first got up there, it was actually quite nice, but it wasn't very long that it started getting real snowy, real blizzardy. Really just, but like it's dry there, so it's weird. Like it's a lot of snow and stuff, but it doesn't like melt and get all slushy. It just kind of powders up. Like it's just like, I don't know. It's kind of unique. It was one of the most unique climates I've ever lived in. Cold and dry.
I always end up going over to our home base over in the UK in the middle of January. I used to end up over there, and no snow, no nothing. It's just, but it rainy and cold.
Yeah.
30 degrees, and they got warnings out there. Hey, it's freezing cold out. And I'm like, man, I'm from Wisconsin. This is nothing. But once I'm wet with that rain, I'm done. It can be 7 degrees and I'm frozen. But so 2017 to now we're at 2020, and half of 2020 got kind of wasted. So you're relatively new on the scene and making quite a name for yourself. So I'm very it's very impressive. And like I said, it's watching your father growing up to kind of watch what you're doing now makes it a very cool thing. And it's probably not just for me, but a lot of the other wrestling fans. I'm sure you get your comparisons and everything and stories. Like I told you off camera, people feel the need to tell you the stories about watching your dad. Makes me sound like an old grizzled vet. I mean, I got the old part down, but I don't know about the grizzled. But I want to talk about now you appeared for MLW, AEW, and what we're going to talk about today, Warrior Wrestling. You're keeping yourself very busy with some very prominent organizations.
Yeah. Well, MLW I haven't done since March 13th. So, that's, I don't know what if they're running in October or not, but that'll be 7 months, off of MLW. But when we get back to work, so that'll be good. But no, so my appearances as of late are AEW and Talkin' Shop-A-Mania, which will be airing today, August 1st, pay-per-view. Big deal on Fite TV. And then next Friday, August 7th, the Friday Night Lights at Warrior Wrestling, a show that I'm really, really looking forward to. So,
and also on Fite TV.
Yeah, also on
Warrior Wrestling.
As a football player growing up myself, very excited to take part in something like this. Just playing football underneath those Friday night lights. You got a bunch of fans screaming. You got your friends and your family out there. And you're playing football, and you're a young kid. You got a lot of adrenaline. There was nothing like it. Growing up, there was nothing like high school football, and it's a memory that I'll cherish for the rest of my life. So, getting to go out in that ring in Chicago, Warrior Wrestling, while I'm holding a championship belt, the belt, the title of the company, and to say I'm doing this underneath the Friday Night Lights, underneath a memory, a whole slew of memories that are so fond to me. It's truly a dream come true. It's going to be a very important night for me. Let me tell you that right now.
As I know how it is when you've played football, even like high school, whether you went on or not, that last game that you have under those lights is very emotional because football is not that sport that you pick up in a bar league later on or anything. When it's done, it's done. And that's what's magic about it. But the cool thing about wrestling is you got to keep getting yourself out in front of a live crowd, and now in front of a packed football stadium. And I don't know if you had a chance to run down the card that Steve and Eric have set up in Warrior. I mean, they outdo themselves every time. But what a huge comeback for live wrestling in the Chicagoland area. This card is stacked top to bottom.
Absolutely. You got Brian Cage coming out, Cobb, Archer, you name it, and then you got some of the regulars, some of the staples of Warrior Wrestling, Sam Adonis, Robert Anthony. All these guys have worked very, very hard, despite, any distractions or any outside, mockeries going on, both these guys, Sam Adonis, Robert Anthony, they've worked very, very hard for this company. And I've been in the ring with both of them. I've been in the ring with Cage. I've been in the ring with Archer. So this is a roster that I'm very comfortable and I'm very confident walking out being the champ there. Now there's a couple guys that could definitely challenge me for that belt. There's definitely a couple guys that could probably beat me if it came to it. But I think, going down the roster of guys, had a couple run-ins with Robert Anthony, and I think he wants to take a shot at it. And I think it's a good first test, to kind of gauge where I'm at. I had my struggles in those matches with him in the past. I'm not quite undefeated against Robert Anthony, but I'm looking forward to a clean contest. I'm looking forward to it being one-on-one deal, mano y mano, man versus man, no clowns included. So I don't know if the clown plans on showing up. I don't know if he thinks he's going to get involved, if he thinks he's going to try and distract me and take my focus off of defending my title. But I'm going to do everything in my power to try and have him removed from the scene, try and have him more or less not a part of the match. Because to me, this is my first title match. And I know that clown's going to try and walk through that curtain. I know he's going to try and get in the ring and have some words. Maybe he's going to grab a microphone. Maybe he's going to try and get in my head. But that's going to be the end of it. I'll have him escorted out. I'm that dead serious about this title. I am 100%. It is the most important thing in my life right now is defending the Warrior Wrestling Championship. And even though I've proven that I can, against all the odds, still win, despite all the clownery and the tomfoolery, I could still, put Robert Anthony down on the mat and win the match. I'm not taking any chances with that bullshit, So, Frank the Clown, you've had a good run, buddy. You've pissed a lot of people off. You've riled a lot. You've ruffled a lot of feathers. You've had your 15 minutes of fame. But Friday night, August 7th, Robert Anthony versus Brian Pillman Jr. That's the match right there. No clowning around.
And that's what we want to see. I was going to say Frank the Clown. Nobody pisses off a crowd more than Frank. I've seen piss off that Warrior Wrestling crowd. So that's what we want to see. No interference, no outside, just two guys, for lack of a better term, no pun intended, two warriors, yourself and Robert Anthony, just a clean contest battling for that title. Yeah. I want to go back to February when you won that title, Wrestling Travel. We were there. Very surprised. You had your match against Bully Ray that we were really looking forward to. And that was just a knockout, drag out. And then you're the surprise entry in that War of Attrition match, which going back and trying to figure out, had I ever heard of this type of match? And I hadn't. They ran it with the women earlier in the night, but Brian Cage brings you into this match. And that is a battle, which I believe it ends up down to you and Sam Adonis, which we talked about. If people don't sleep on Sam Adonis, that was a heck of an ending. But you had to go through hell that night. You went through Bully Ray and then going through what 7 other guys.
Yeah,
essentially.
It was just like it was called. It was definitely a war of attrition, and I give a lot of love for Brian Cage for putting my name in that hat and for really believing in me. Especially having gone through that Bully Ray match earlier that night, I was not in the best shape. I was knocked out a little bit. My neck was sore going through the table. I wasn't expecting an opportunity like that to just come out of the blue. After getting my ass handed to me by Bully Ray, a guy that's got multitude of years of experience and size and skill on me, to just all of a sudden be coined it. I don't know. Maybe Brian thought that I didn't have a chance. He thought, oh well, I'll just put this kid in there and then he won't win it, and then I don't have to worry about wrestling. And maybe he thought because I was at my weakest point right there that he could put me in there. But I don't think that was the case. I don't think Brian is that type of guy. I think Brian likes to have the best challenger possible for that belt. And I think that's why he put that stock in me. I think that's why he was very proud to announce me for the War of Attrition match. And yeah, I think he knew. I think he knew that I had what it took. I think he knew that I was tough enough to survive a match based around, attrition, endurance, cardio, things like that. He knew that maybe in a one-on-one situation, yeah, I might not beat out Michael Elgin. I'm probably not going to beat Lance Archer as we've seen before, but you know what? You put me in a match where it's all about tough, it's all about surviving, it's all about skating by, scratching through, you know, taking a hit after hit after hit, but other things, adversity coming in, different factors. You know, I'm a guy that handles adversity quite well. It's been a theme of my entire life. So the War of Attrition match was the perfect, you know, thematic way for me to obtain the Warrior Wrestling title. But now we got to flip that switch. Now we got to take out all the variables. I won this title with a lot of variables in hand, but now I'm going to defend it without any of the variables other than the rules and regulations inside of the wrestling ring.
So if I go back to the match that you won the belt on, that War of Attrition, watching you go through what you did with Bully Ray, and then as that match, like I said, there is I think it was an 8-man match. You talk about athletes being in the zone where they're just hitting shot after shot, or they're breaking tackles and they're not quite sure. They're almost outside of their body. We could almost see that in the crowd. You came out, you're obviously worn out from your match, but it's just like you were absorbing punishment and just going, I don't know if you were you're in that zone or not, but it certainly was fun to watch.
At that point, you're just numb, you know. You're so numb that it doesn't matter, but your instinctual, you know, reaction is to kick out. So it's like, okay, well, if I can just keep kicking out, keep pushing on, keep kicking on, you know. Sam Adonis blasted me on the outside of the ring with a huge tope dive onto a chair. I mean, I was seeing stars, you know. I was so numb at that point that the only way to beat me is to try and override my instincts or to cheat, you know. I was just a numb soldier of just a bat out of hell. You know, there's nothing you could have done to keep me from getting that belt at that point, because I had taken so much punishment and adversity already throughout that night that it was just like, this is it. This is my chance to get this. And you know, as you can see, I got it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that crowd behind you, Warrior Wrestling, Steve, I've talked about, Warrior was supposed to be kind of a one-off thing for a fundraiser, and now it's grown into, we're going into the 9th card that they've done. Talk to me what it means to represent. I mean, because that brand is a who's who and a who's gonna be who. Good mix of talent. Talk to me what it means to you to.
It's definitely a huge honor and a privilege to have been considered for the Warrior Wrestling cards, you know, in the past and also going forward. Yeah, I always thought, you know, maybe this would be maybe a one-off or a couple things. You know, I know the very first show I wasn't a part of, but you know, going forward after that, I've been at every show. So it's been very exciting for me to just share that locker room. It's one of those locker rooms you go in and you're like, oh, this is a pro wrestling locker room. This isn't an indie wrestling locker room. This is a pro wrestling locker room. And there's a vast difference between a professional wrestler and an indie wrestler. And I think once you're in that environment and that bar is raised and it's all around you, that was the point where I needed to grow up and I needed to level up and I needed to look around and look at myself in the mirror and say, all right, am I going to do this? Am I going to be a pro wrestler, or do I want to just go back to being an indie wrestler? And that was one of the first locker rooms that really made me feel like, okay, I'm stepping into the pros right
now. 100%. I brought a friend of mine, pro wrestler, and I said before we go in that we have to pass through this locker room, but this is not your podunk locker room at a armory or something. This is you're walking in and literally seeing stars and people who are going to be stars, noses to the ground. I got in and got the hell out, because if you're not on the show, that's not the place to hang out. But yeah, really impressed with it. What would you say now? I'm going to be respectful of your time, but I got to get a few really good questions in.
Yeah, I was going to say I should be training for this title match right now.
Yeah, I know. I'm wasting all your time.
I got to go eat some geta. I got to eat some eggs. I got to go to the gym. I got to do abs. I got to do all these workouts, you know, conditioning, all that, you know. I just wrestled for AEW. So
hope that Frank the Clown didn't set up this interview, and I'm trying to dog you here for the title, man.
I know Frank the Clown's trying to hinder my success.
So, okay, Two more questions then.
Go ahead. No, we're great.
What would you say in your young career, what would be some of the best advice that you've gotten?
Well, whether I received it later in life or maybe I received it at Lance's school and later on it made sense to me, or maybe Rip Rogers. Anytime, most guys will that really have made any money in this business or have done anything in this business. Bully Ray mentioned it to me after our match. It's not about going over. It's not about winning. It's not about that right off, necessarily at the beginning, right? Obviously we all aspire to be world champions. We all aspire to win. But when at the very base of it, when you're getting started out, when you're trying to become a star, it's not about going over. It's about getting over. It's about getting the fans invested. It's about getting that emotional connection where it's not about selling T-shirts or it's not about, them following you on Instagram. It's about them going to bed at night and they cannot sleep because they're thinking about your match. They're thinking about how important that night was or how important that match was and how excited they were to see you and how they can't wait to see you again. It's about really, truly, genuinely getting over. And that's something that is lost on a lot of young guys these days. And they're doing a lot of different things. They're experimenting with a lot of things to get over. And I don't think I got it all figured out either. I'm still trying to get over. But I know that at the end of the day, it's not about, anything else but getting over, becoming a guy that people want to see, becoming a guy that people, they see it at the airport and they know who he is, or they go, oh, who's that guy? He's got to be somebody.
Those are great words. Now, Warrior Wrestling, will this be, since the pandemic, will this be one of your first matches? Because I'm not sure what you maybe have done for other indies, but in front of a crowd?
In Chicago, yes. But like I said, I've been chasing any and all opportunities. I'm not afraid of this virus. So I was in the South already. I've had several matches. I had 2 weeks in a row where I had 4 matches. So I went down and did Talk and Shop and Mania tapings, 2 matches there. Then I went up through Tennessee for Thursday and Friday, 2 matches up there. So that was 4 matches that week. And 127 Wrestling and KFW Wrestling, respectively. Then week after that, wrestled in Grimsley, Tennessee again, 127 Pro Wrestling. And then I had a 3-day loop in Alabama, Piedmont, Alabama, Pro South. All these shows are with fans, you know what I mean? People are moving on with their lives in different parts of the world, And as we can see, Chicago is hopping on that train of positivity. We're having an outdoor show with fans at underneath the Friday night lights, and I couldn't be more excited. But I had that Piedmont show, had another show in Alabama, and then I had a really big show at a promotion called New South in Huntsville, Alabama. Another outdoor venue, keeping the fresh air coming in, keeping people healthy. People are wearing their masks. Maybe somebody isn't. Maybe somebody is. It's not up to me to police that. It's up to me to control my health and to have a good time and go out there and put on the best match I can. But as long as the fans feel safe and they feel like they spent their money and they came to a great show and had a good time, and there's memories that are made, that's all that matters, right? We can dread and we can worry and we can be stressed, but I did that for so many months. I had so many months of being depressed and being worried and stressed about this situation that I just want to see happiness. I just want to see people smiling again. I want to go out there and wrestle at a high school football field. I want to go out there and underneath the Friday night lights and put on the best match of my life. And I very well do believe that this might be the best match of my career for many factors of reasons. I'm starting to carry myself like a champion. I'm built, my body, I'm in the shape of a champion. I've never felt better in the ring. I've never felt smoother. And I'm also going out there with a guy that I'm experienced against. You know, I know his weaknesses and I know his strengths. He knows my weaknesses and my strengths. So it's going to be very back and forth. It's going to be very technical. It's going to be very emotional, and it's not going to. We're not going to need any outside distractions. We're not going to need any bullshit or any tomfoolery or any clowning around. We're just going to need. It's just going to be us two guys going out there, you know. And it's going to be a hell of a match. And I think a lot of people are going to remember it. I think a lot of people are going to look back on this match as my, you know, very first important title defense for Warrior Wrestling.
Absolutely. So final question. First of all, I want to remind everybody watching this that you can watch, if you can't be in the Chicagoland area, you can watch this streaming on Fite TV. And from top to bottom, this card, we did a prediction show. We couldn't even make any predictions. We said, let's just talk about these matches. Let's be a fan and just let them happen and just enjoy, well, as it happens. But for those of us that can't make it to the show, that maybe they're in the mother country, the United Kingdom, from all around the world, can you please, how can we follow and keep up with Brian Pillman Jr.? What are your socials? You have a pro wrestling tee store. I know we just talked about it's not all about your socials, but I know fans want to keep up with you. And
no,
how
absolutely. No, even though, you know, obviously it's not all about that. That's still a very important aspect. You guys know you can follow me on Twitter at Flying Brian Jr., on Instagram at Flying Brian 41. And that, yeah, that's pretty much all I got. You know, I'm not a big Facebook guy. Don't try to add me on there. But yeah, no, Instagram, Twitter, those are my two of my most favorite outlets. You know, I like to put a lot of my photos and a lot of pictures of myself on Instagram, and I like to put a lot of my stupid thoughts and comments on Twitter. So,
how about shirts? Do you sell shirts at all?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I don't want to omit that. We don't want to omit the big money maker there. Yeah. But yes, Pro Wrestling Tees. I do have a brand new shirt that has just come out in honor of my new gear set and my debut at All Elite Wrestling. It is called Shots Fired, and you can find that underneath my store in the pink and gray colorway.
I know I said that was the last question, but as me personally, I got to get this last one in. I told you off camera, one of my first big-time matches that I saw in 1989 as a 14-year-old kid. That's like 31 years ago almost to the date. It was July 30th. I saw your dad, Brian Pillman, come out in the Miami Night Center on a house show for Great American Bash. I was telling you, he came out to Rock It by Def Leppard. Now, I know that album came out in 1987, but the drums, is there any chance that I could ever see you on an indie show come out to that song? Or is that too old school?
Well, I don't know. Maybe that's something we can do next weekend, you know? Hey, nothing's impossible. So, you know, maybe I'll talk to Steve and the guys, and maybe we'll make that happen for you.
That would be fantastic. So I'll see you there.
I enjoy the song too. I think it's one of my more favorite entrances of his, for sure.
Yeah, super cool. Like I said, I was young and I didn't really know the song. I knew Pour Some Sugar on Me, maybe.
Strap a rocket to my back. That's a good song to come out to. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do Rocket by Def Leppard. Why not?
All righty. Brian Pillman Jr., we cannot wait. Wrestling Travel, we'll see you next weekend. Friday Night Lights, August 7th. But we can't thank you enough for joining us. Hopefully when the world comes back to normal, we could get you captaining another party bus, and we can drive to Warrior Wrestling. You can drive the fans once the fans are able to come over from the UK again. So thank you very much for your time, and we are really looking forward to Warrior Wrestling against Robert Anthony coming up this Friday.
Awesome. Have a good one, my friend.